Hello, everybody. I got a really interesting method I think I'm going to use for deciding skill checks, from thieves checks all the way up to perception or whatever you want. How this works is actually kind of interesting. All right. I started looking at Swords and Wizardry in the White Box 3rd edition. There's only 3 main classes: cleric, fighter, and magic user. The cool thing about only having 3 classes, there's not a whole bunch of classes, that any player could try to do anything. How come a wizard can't try picking a lock, right? Or a fighter for that matter, right? So one way you could do it is that everybody gets the same amount of chance. You just roll 1 or 2 on a d6, which is 32%, and they should be able to do it. And let's say they have something applicable in a stat that would work for it. Let's say they have a 15 or higher as far as dexterity. Let's say the fighter is able to stealthily go across the room by rolling a 2d6 if one of them's a 1 or 2. So the argument for this is that maybe less is more, once again, for kind of playing a game that has this general overall feel that people can get more out of each one of their characters, right? So I'm going to show you a little bit on how this all works out. If you want to understand how the statistical probability works out, you can click on a link here, or let's say right here. Once again, the idea, once again, this link is down in the description. You might want to take a look at it. But generally speaking, if you have 1 dice, the probability of rolling a 1 or 2 is basically 33%. If you're rolling 2 dices, or 2 die, I guess they might say, you should get a probability of about 56% that you're going to roll a 1 or a 2 on either one of the dice, okay? This goes up incrementally, as you see, with 3 of them at 70%, 4 is 80, 87, 91. You get the idea. I don't know if everybody will ever roll past 5 or 6 dice trying to do this, right? But it kind of works out really nice, okay? Let's give an example. You have a fighter, or let's say a magic user or a cleric, trying to pick a lock with the dexterity stat of 10. It'd roll 1d6 and just try for a 1 or 2. And say if they're a very dexterous, let's say, magic user, he would roll, if he had 15 or higher, would roll 2d6 and see whether or not he can open that lock, right? So these are a bunch of skills, your generic skills you've seen before, right, on various probably RPGs. And if we take something like pickpocketing, sleight of hand, backstab, stealth, and or just mess with them, but you could see that anything, constitutions, holding breath, endurance, nausea. Like some people, you don't have to do this, but if you wanted to do a check because you felt like, I just don't want to be the guy, the arbitrator saying you can't do that, just make a roll dice for it, and then you can, well, what's your intelligence? Oh, it's a 9. Well, you get to roll 1d6. Let's see whether or not you know where that magic chalice came from. Seriously doubt it, but if you did an arcana check, wow, not bad, right? So there's something to think about, something to try. One thing you can also do, and I have it labeled down here because I'm going to try this too as well. At certain levels, 3rd level, 6th level, 9th level, you can add 1 to any one of your stats. Let's say a +1. All right. So instead of a dexterity +1, now you have dexterity +2 when it comes to skill checks. Okay. So what happens is that makes it a little more interesting when it comes to, let's say, being a better pickpocket and whatnot. I would make it only apply to things involving skill checks, not like, let's say, shooting, or not even, because you already have a base hit bonus. You don't need it for that. But this is strictly for skill checks, okay? Let's look at stealth and backstab, since I have asterisks here. These are a little different, right? With stealth and backstab, it's influenced by armor. So if you're wearing plate mail, all rolls are made with a +2, which basically says if you roll a 1, +2 makes it a 3. You can't stealthily run through the castle, right? You got giant plates of metal on you. That's kind of what I think, right? So chainmail, on the other hand, it gets a +1. So even if you roll a 1, 1 + 1 makes it 2, it still pass. It's just a concept. Once again, leather stealth rolls are made of 0. And then clothing, let's say you're just a magic user, just have robes, you get a -1. You're actually going to be pretty quiet wearing robes. So this is something you might want to consider, right? And a shield is situational. Say if the guy has a shield, he puts it down, he says he's going to sneak across the room, it doesn't have a penalty. But if you're going to hold it, go across the room, then you're probably going to be a little clangy on your sword that's on your belt or something like that. I mean, like I said, the game master decides what he wants to do. Think about putting down a shield and doing a backstab means if that goes bad, you don't have it on you, and your armor class is going to suffer, right? Let's talk about the backstab. It can only occur before the combat initiative rolls made, because there's like several, and I'll go into another video where I explained the kind of a white boxian rules, right? There is a +4 melee attack after a successful stealth approach. So it's only melee, it's not range. You can't be shooting somebody, right? And the weapon must be either a dagger or short sword, which inflicts 2d6 plus 1 damage. I find that sometimes doing too much actually kind of makes it one of those overpowered type things. But if everybody can do it, that seems pretty approachable. So let's talk about a halfling. Halflings in Whitebox 3rd edition can only get up to 4th level as a fighter. So why would anybody pick it? Well, they get to add a d6 to dexterity skills for every level they obtain. So if we think about these little short guys that don't wear shoes, they're going to get this giant advantage for doing any dexterity skill. For example, a 3rd level halfling fighter gets to roll 3d6, successful 1 or 2 for pickpocketing. Okay. Now they also get, let's say, sleight of hand, backstab, or stealth, that same option, 3d6. So we're talking like 70% chance. They would roll 46 if they had a 15 plus in their dexterity stat, which is pretty much what they're going to have. Because why would you not do that if you're halfling, have the bonus in the dexterity if you could, right? So this bonus could also be made towards discerning traps. Now I kind of split that. I put it in the intelligence factor because when you think about it, discerning traps, looking at the mechanism, seeing how the whole thing works, that would be an intelligence thing more than a dexterity thing. That only makes sense, okay? Now, I just did this thing on this Hemi virtual dice roller, and you can click this link and take yourself there and give it a try. All right. Now, how this works is pretty fun. Okay. I just said 10d6 roll 1 time, and I mark every one of them that seemed to pass. You see, 3 of them passed using this method, 30%. You can try it yourself. It works really nice. 2d6, 60% of them passed. Right. So it's 6 out of 10. Now keep in mind I'm reading down. So this is a 1 or a 3, the 1 passes, the 2 passes, the 1 passes, 1, you get the idea, right? 3d6, 70% of them, and I did this several times. It comes out really, really nice. It could be because it's the virtual dice roller, but I did it with my homemade dice too, and they seem to work perfectly fine, right? This thing is actually pretty robust. 46, 80, usually it lands between 70 and 80% passing, okay? And 5d6, 90%. The ideal of rolling 1 out of 5 dice, it's pretty high, okay? So this is something you might want to try. I would love to hear some feedback. So just go ahead and make some comments. I thank all the people that subscribe because it's kind of fun. You put that out. And then I really like hearing back from people because it's a fun game and it's a hobby. So you're just kind of like finding new and different ways of doing things. Okay, with that, I hope you have a good day. We'll talk later. Bye.